go, and we're live with what will probably be episode 8, I think, of Mineral Coaches. Today we have another very high SR review with Ture. And you've probably seen some of these sessions. You probably know kind of how I like to conduct them. So obviously, in the beginning, just sort of tell me a little bit about yourself, your goals in Overwatch, what do you want to accomplish in your Overwatch career, and things like that.
All right. What I want to accomplish probably it's close to what everyone else says. Like I want to become a pro. Like have a gaming as a career.
Mm-hmm.
So because that's what I like to do, and my goals right now is probably like reaching contenders because you can't reach neither World Cup or Overwatch League before you're 18. So that's
Mm-hmm.
unlucky.
How old are you?
16.
Oh, okay. Cool, cool. So you're obviously very young, and you're already at a higher rating. How long have you been playing Overwatch?
Since season 1, but not in the start, like middle of season 1.
Okay. Well, so you definitely have the sort of I guess the advantage of being very young, so you have a lot of room to develop, and you're already high ranked, so that's obviously very positive. But since your goal is to go pro, we'll sort of focus on this review on things that you will definitely need to go pro, things that
Mm-hmm.
you definitely have to develop beyond mechanics and things like that. I've done a couple of reviews like this with high ranked players where I hold everyone to pretty high standards. So I think it's important that you understand what scouts will be looking for in the future, whether it's a contenders level, whether it's an Overwatch level, whatever it may be. So we'll go pretty in depth on all of that stuff.
All
Now,
right.
is there anything that you think is sort of your weakness? Anything you want to focus on specifically? Anything you want to improve on?
For me, I think it's mostly like I get stressed out really easily. So when I get the pressure on me, I do dumb plays or
Mm-hmm.
like my brain stops working.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I don't know really how to coach that, but that's just mentality thing, like confidence and stuff like that.
So when you get pressured, I think that's a case of I think everyone plays worse
Yeah.
under pressure. Of course, when you're pressured, you're more likely to make a mistake, and I think the best way is to avoid those situations as much as possible. Obviously, it's good to know how to maneuver out of a situation where you're under a lot of pressure, but a big thing is to be smart enough to kind of be ahead of the play so that you avoid those situations in the first place, right? Especially as a main support, when you're playing Mercy, when you're playing Lucio, when you're playing these heroes, it's extremely important that you anticipate when Winston is going to jump. You anticipate when a team is going to move into you, so that you can position accordingly.
Yeah.
And then you kind of avoid the situations altogether. You stay ahead of the play, and you're in control of the fight, right? When you lose control, of course, it's going to be a lot harder. It's always going to be a little more random. So, um, okay, so we'll start, and we'll see where we get.
Play quad on downtown? Yes. Got
Uh,
you.
So here in Busan downtown, you guys want to play?
okay.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Hello. Yeah, I can hear you now. Now it
Okay,
seems to work.
yeah, it seems to be better. All right, there we go.
Yes.
So you guys are playing downtown. You're playing quad DPS with Hammond, right?
Yeah. We play quad DPS with Hammond and me on the solo
And
heal.
yeah, so when you are the solo healer, obviously it's you're responsible for the entirety of the healing for all 5 players. So what do you sort of go into the match thinking about?
Uh, well, I try to stick to Pharah mostly because then I have what's it called? I'm kind of safe if they play goats. That is, and I can easily fly to everyone since I have the high ground. So I try to stick with Pharah,
Mhm.
and I try to damage boost as much as possible because we want the big damage. That's why we play the quad,
Mhm.
and also like making sure people have crossfires and stuff like that.
Mhm. So what is your heal priority with this composition? With all of
My
these.
heal priority is probably I make sure Farah is alive because if she's not alive, I'll probably die afterwards.
So number 1.
Yes, and number 2 I would say is the Widow because she's hard to keep alive.
Mhm.
And then I would say Hammond, but Hammond most of the time is really they do fine by themselves, but sometimes they need a bit of heal, so then I heal them.
Mhm.
And Sombra shouldn't need my heals at all, so she's like, so then it's just Tracer left, basically heal Tracer whenever she needs some healing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty fair. Obviously, you don't want to lose. Like you said, these three are pretty self sufficient, whereas Farah and the Widowmaker are very dependent on you, and obviously, you always want to keep your Widowmaker in the fight because that's why this composition usually works, because of the pressure that your Widow puts on the enemies. So, in general, the way this composition works is that these three sort of play a mini game with each other and try and put pressure and draw aggression and clear space, and then you three need to sort of stay within LOS of each other and help each other and communicate amongst each other, right? So you never really want to end up in a situation when you don't, obviously optimally you want to always end up in situations where you're always healing, always doing something, right? Because if there's even a split, even if there's just 1 second mid fight where you are not healing or damage boosting, it's very hard to catch up on heals or win the fight, right? Because you're the only healer, right? So you always have to be doing something, which is obviously a lot of pressure from the get-go. So you understand the priorities, you understand that you have to be doing something all the time. So how do you put yourself in positions to actually do something all the time?
I would say if they like my I try to every time where I'm not healing damage boost as much as possible. And my priority is I damage boost Farah if they have goats. If they're playing like DPS themselves, I try to prioritize damage boosting Widow and pocketing Widow, as well as keeping the Farah alive. And then I try to keep the other three alive, but they usually do fine by themselves. So like in goats, keep Farah because she has the splash damage, but against dive and stuff, the splash is not as good as Widow.
So in an ideal world, you want to put yourself in a position where you have LOS on all of them, while also taking minimal risk and not risking your life, right? Like that's the optimal best case scenario where we can fly to anyone at any time without you being compromised, which is obviously a very, it's difficult to accomplish that, but that is your ultimate goal, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can always stay busy and you're also not in risk and you don't die. Because if you die, the whole composition sort of falls apart. Okay.
Yes.
Huge! I just found out Tracer had a voice like
I'm bulking cool with me right side for a second so they can attack.
Hold.
I'm checking left side.
Alright.
I don't see them. They're left.
Oh, I see Maki here, Maki left. Diva left. Oh.
They have break. I hesitant to go in.
Oh wow.
Can rest.
Maki.
I'm gonna look for a hack on the Diva.
Maki not jump in our spawn. Maki one.
So what do you think about your movement so far?
I think I'm playing safe, but I think I don't have to go as close as I'm doing.
We just discussed that it's extremely important that you keep LOSs in as many people as possible, especially the two heroes who are number 1 and number 2 in your priority list, right? Number 1 and number 2. And now you've ended up in a situation where you don't have LOS on either of them, and one of them is in critical HP, while the other one is in a position where you can take damage from a lot of people, right? So already you've put yourself in a position that is very, very bad, and that goes completely against what your goals are, right?
Yeah.
So how can you avoid from go for the res after the res?
So this is where when I fly to Tracer here.
So she's number 4 in your priority list, and she's fighting a monkey, right? So she's really not under any pressure, correct? I mean, she's fine. She's fine. Like it's a completely fine trade for you if your monkey and your Tracer are fighting there. You don't have to help on this at all, right? You just have to make sure that the Widow is safe, diffuse the damage, diffuse the threat on the Widow, and make sure the Farrak stays alive. Also, when you do this, what else do you need to do? Now that you've ended up in this situation, what else do you need to do?
I was looking for the damage boost on the Tracer, but she got that around the wall. And I should look around for where the two others are, the Widow and the Farah.
Yeah, but now when you're going for this shift, what do you need to say?
I'm leaving you to Farah,
Mhm.
so she knows.
That's something I don't think in this VOD you did almost a single time. I don't think you communicated to your Pharaoh a single time. And with this composition especially, because you have to take care of so many people, it's extremely important that you tell your Pharaoh when you leave her, especially at the higher levels. Goats compositions will be sending people at your way all the time. The diva will be flying at the Pharaoh all the time. So if you leave your Pharaoh like this, most likely a good diva will be, if they're playing goats, she will be getting a Zarya bubble and pushing your Pharaoh. So now your Pharaoh has absolutely no idea that you just left her. So you either need to do one, tell her you leave her and to tell her that she should play safe, or number two, order her to fall back and kill this Winston. Because that could be fine too, like you guys, there's still 7 seconds until the point opens up. Your Pharah comes back, the four of you kill this Winston, and then you go back to the point. That could work too, but you can't, because this is perfect for them. One Winston is drawing aggro from 3, and they have pressure on the point, and they have kill potential right now on your Pharaoh potentially as well. So
Okay.
yeah,
Maki no jump, spawn, Maki.
you also can cut shifts. Like even if you do want to go for like a damage boost, maybe you want to damage boost a little bit to secure the skill, right? Say in this situation, you tell your Farah, I'm leaving you to help main. She's like, okay, I'm gonna play slow.
Back on the diva.
You can still cut your shift at this point. Like you cut your shift, and then you can still at this point shift on the Farah. If she gets pressured, you can shift on the Widow, right? Like if you just stop here, damage boost him a little bit, fly up to her, or fly up to the Farah, because you need to heal her up. These guys are going to push away the Winston. You heal her up. She's good for the rest of the fight. Then you're free to pocket your Farah pretty much for the entirety of the fight, because you've diffused kind of the marking threat. Because that's what 3-3 is going to do, right? The 3-3 is always going to send Winston on your Widow. So now you've made sure that Widow is safe. She's already on high ground. He's no longer a threat. He's going to take too much damage. He's going to have to jump for a HP pack, most likely. Nobody can heal him. So, you've already diffused the threat. So you can't forget that setting up your Widow and Pharah is the priority.
Okay.
Maki one.
You see? This is the only way that Winston kills her, right? But if you
For a hack on the
do this, if you cut your shift here, you stop, you float, and you fly up here, because this is like he doesn't want to fight these guys. He only wants to go for the Widow. So you have to understand the win condition of the Goats comp as well. Pressure the objective, mark the Widow, because Widow is the only hero that can potentially one-shot anyone on their team. So they will always be sending resources towards your Widow. But now you give her that opening, even though he overextended, he should be dead.
Maki one.
Yeah,
Where is he?
but he didn't go for it.
Yeah, but he could have, right? He could
Yeah,
have.
he could have.
And if you would have 100%, you already don't have a res. Fight is over, and they can potentially snowball the map a lot easier.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
But even then, like what he did was enough. Even though he didn't get the kill, he forced kind of a 3 versus 1, draw aggression from you guys, and then obviously your Sombra, Ball, and Farah can't do enough to push the rest of the team away. So something you absolutely need to do with this composition, look around a lot more. Like you're looking at your Farah's ass way too much. You have to always look back. Where's my Widow? Not only for her, but she is your defensive pivot. Like I said, that's how I have to think. The Ball and the flankers are playing on their own. They will be all over the place. They won't be in a stationary position. But Widow is sort of also part of your group, and she's going to be somewhere behind you, so she's going to be a pivot for you, right? So if you get, say, a diva in this situation, like Anna starts shooting you, a diva flies at you, you have to know where the Widow is, right? Because that will determine how far you can move up. Because if you would realize, in this situation, I don't have LOS on the Widow, you would reposition differently, just so you have an escape. Because now your Farah is taking you in a very open space, right? So you should have LOS on a lot of your players, but you're also in a lot of danger here. So, maybe if you go there, you're not under as much pressure, but then you also might not have a defensive pivot. So you always have to think about, where is my pivot behind me?
Oh, the Anna.
Yeah.
because now again you're looking at the
I'm
diva.
set up behind them.
Like there's nothing to look at the point, right?
Right now.
Oh, Diana.
Like you're damage boosting, you're looking at your Pharah, but
I'm set up behind
beyond
them.
that, like no one's on the point. Your ball is not there yet, so you need to pay attention, especially on the Winston again. You see, like that's all he's doing. He's pressuring your Widow. So now you turn around and you pay attention. But this is what I was talking about in terms of foreseeing things. You know, like staying ahead of the play, because you're reacting. Like he's already jumped. Now you look at him. Now you read the situation. So now you're under a little more pressure, and you could have foreseen this if you just look around. You have a little more awareness.
Yeah, okay.
A nice half in the back. Can we go for Anna?
I'm helping out Widow.
You know, like you're not paying attention to her at all. Same situation. Like she shifted up. You know that Winston is there. You know that he's overextended. If you put him in a position where he can 1v1 the Widow, 1, she's gonna die. 2, you lose a lot of pressure to win the fight, and you completely ignore that. And again, you don't take control of the fight. Like your Pharah has no idea that the Winston probably jumped main. Like she's busy shooting point. Again, call her back, order her around. We need to push away the Winston main. You force that Winston to make a defensive jump to the point. Your Widow is free. Threat is diffused. You take your angles. You slowly grind them out. So you also need to take much more of a lead in comms here.
Yeah.
Oh, Diana.
I can't get this done.
I'm set up behind them right now.
Was that you calling that?
That was, yeah.
Yeah. So you give very good information calls. No bubble, no jump. But then that's it. No order. You know, fall back. We can focus. Maybe we can kill him. Right? Like your ball comes in, boops him out of bubble. Your Widow maybe shoots him a little bit. Your Pharah shoots him a little bit, and maybe you can win. Right? As long as the 3/3 doesn't control this space, and they're not controlling this space. Like they're only controlling this space with the Winston. If they had like their brig here and stuff, and they could push with more people, then it would be a lot harder. But now you guys can potentially push him. So you give good info, but you don't react on it at all, and you don't order your team at all. So you have to be more of a general, because your Pharah is going to be focused on shooting, and outside of Pharah, you have the best LOS of the fight, or at least the best potential LOS of the fight, because you can look around everywhere.
Nice half in the back. Can we go for Anna?
I'm
Yeah,
helping out Widow.
Briggs half.
I got the monkey.
Yeah. So you got the monkey, but your Widow died. You could have easily killed the monkey and saved the Widow, because you're in no rush. Like they already have the point, you know. So collect the free kill on the monkey and then slowly grind them out.
A nice still half. A nice still one. He's one up. She's armor. No armor.
Lucy's dead.
I've got barrage.
Brig is hacked. You can barrage them. They're stuck there.
Hey,
Oh,
just
sorry,
move
my
them all away.
That was me back. That's
Sorry,
I
no,
think
no,
I
no,
can't.
Kill Sarah.
There we go.
Thank you, buds.
Destroying shield. Lucio hacked.
That monkey.
Okay.
Rough start, but we good. I'm going up there once I get healed.
I have my ult. We have EMP and Mercy ult as well as mines. Next fight we use EMP and mines.
Okay.
Alright.
You call a plan. Is this something you do consistently, like shot calling and like calling the plans and ult checking and stuff like that?
I would say I'm usually not super dominant when it comes to like making decisions, but if no one else does, I try to fill it in. So if there's no plan, I usually try to make a plan.
Yeah. So again, if you want to be a pro, like especially a main support, most of the time contenders teams and alt teams will expect you to be like at the very minimum do ult checking between every fight.
Yeah, I think I do that in a couple of seconds here in this clip, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, you did. You called sort of. I think this round you did. You did do that pretty well, but I don't think you did it sort of consistently throughout the VOD. So that's why I kind of asked what the dynamics are within your team, whether you do that consistently.
Yeah.
Guess it is something you should be doing consistently if you want to sort of take your game to the next level.
Yeah.
Going left side again.
Okay, I'm gonna EMP them. I'm behind them right now.
I'm in position. Mine.
Okay, can you go in now?
Lucy's low.
Going in.
Monkey got nano.
I think
Lucy will give them points.
Again, you know, like your team is very so you guys see 9 here, and your team is very focused on executing on the play, which means while they're setting up their stuff, you have to pay attention to the overall sort of like
Picture.
the overall picture, the overall objective of the fight. And anytime a team plays 3-3, they against a comp like yours, they will want to pressure the objective, and you obviously don't have a lot of tools to deal with that pressure. You have a tracer potentially who can juggle, go there. You have a Hammond, and you yourself sometimes have to like drop down at least for a second and contest the point. So you should be paying attention to the objective progress all the time, because there's nothing much for you to do in this situation, right?
Going in.
Like here, you should already know, oh shit, someone's capping. Can someone touch? Or even better, I'm touching, someone else has to have to touch, right? I can get that. Can someone else touch? Can someone touch? Okay. The Tracer goes in and have that urgency, because really, what I think you lack the most as a main support right now is mid-fight calling, and this round could potentially be a win if you help your team like that.
Alright.
Because you see, everyone is obviously following up here, but this guy is already capping. Obviously, it would be a little risky for you to drop, but at least point this out, or you should point it out like as soon as someone caps, or even before the fight. Who's gonna touch the point, right? So very important. Because you guys execute on the play, you get a kill, but you see 9. And when you see 9, it's gonna be really hard. And also when you have Valk, it's something again you can do. So let me see, how much did you have on your Valk? Oh, actually had it before. So 100% you should, when you see the point.
Getting capped Valkin.
Yeah. Now you just Valk and you try and stop the progress. Because it's, you can't give the point up like this. Because you blow the entire, now you blow 3 ults and give up point progress, So it's the game is pretty much lost here.
Give them points.
Yeah.
Anna dead. Brick is 1.
Now if they get rally off, do they get rally off? No, they don't.
No, I think we win this fight, but they got 20% or something.
Yeah. They got 20% and they got all of your main ults.
Lucio.
Yeah.
When you could have easily
I like the mini on left
stopped
side
him.
for you guys.
Good.
So they're gonna have Zarya, Brig, they use Nana this fight, they'll have Monkey, everything except Nana actually, everything except Nana.
Yeah.
Place
It's okay. You all check. Very good. And yeah, like you see, this fight, your guys are kind of already screwed because of the ult economy. They have 5 ults. You guys have nothing. But yeah, you should be at 60% here and lose this fight. Farm your ults. Get to 99%, and then you have 2 more retakes.
Play far high ground. They have grab. They will most likely not hesitate to solo grab. We are playing DPS comp. Just play split.
So this is something you do as well. You don't cut your shifts enough.
Most likely not hesitate to
Like
solo
here.
grab. We are playing DPS comp.
Yeah.
Going this far, like when you go this far, if there's a Winston and a D.Va ready to jump, you're dead. Right? So there's no need to overshoot here. You have to understand that this is a spot where they can easily catch you before you run away. Also, the only thing you're looking at is your Pharah. You have no idea where your pivot is. You have no idea where your Widow is, right? So you don't know if you get pushed here, where's your escape? You would turn around, and now you don't see, maybe you don't have the LOS on the Widow, and that's what you were talking about. This is a pressured situation. Now you're gonna make a silly mistake probably if you get pressured here, simply because you're not prepared enough before the fight or during the fight, because you're paying attention to the wrong things, you're overusing your shift, and you're not looking behind you at all.
Far high ground. They have grab.
You're only looking at your
Most
Pharah.
likely not hesitate to solo grab.
So again, you're playing the hero that should work with the most information, but the only information you have is sort of how much HP your Pharah has.
Play split.
Monkey right side. Monkey on here. Make it.
Yeah, I think
thing.
they actually do a mistake here.
Yeah, like again, you just
We are
overshift.
playing DPS comp. Just play split.
Monkey right.
Here, like you could potentially do a short shift, but you always look around. Where's my Widow?
Side.
Because this is like again 3-3. What will they do? They will probably pressure the objective. When Winston has primal, he will most likely just jump your Widow to zone her, so you will have to know where she is, or they will jump you, right? Like you or Widow are the only targets they can sort of catch easily, or potentially catch. They can catch Widow, or they want to zone her out, and they can also catch you if you make a mistake, because you don't have another healer. So if you make a mistake and you know, you get one shot by the Ana, you expose yourself too much, then you can potentially blow up.
Yeah, make it.
You can see, like, now you turn around. Where's your pivot? Where's the Widow? She's not here. You probably expected her to be here, but she's not here. Right?
Yeah.
Fans, can you focus the Zarya with X?
I don't see
And
her
you're
right now.
dead.
Oh, she's on point, she's on point.
So just the situation we talked about. And that's, again, if you think about it before the fight, you could even tell your Widow where to stand. You know, I need you to stand here, right? Or make sure I have LOS on you. You know? Because like, your Widow's only going to think about, where do I get the best angle? How do I move around? I don't want to be stationary. And that's fine. Like, he should have that creative freedom, but you need to make sure that if he positions in a way where you don't have LOS on him, you have to call your Pharah back a little bit, or you have to think about these things. Because your in this situation, your Pharah can overpeak and be aggressive and get out, whereas you
Monkey
can't.
right side.
So here, if you like do a really short shift, you cut it right here,
Monkey here.
then that's fine.
Yeah, make it.
But because you overshift, now you're screwed.
Fans, can you focus the Zarya with X?
I don't see her
And your Widow was actually top right, but you saw that too late.
right now. Oh, she's on
Yeah.
point, she's on point.
Monkey's after me, I really need help.
Help on Mercy. Help on Mercy.
Another thing almost all teams will do, you know, like if they have a Diva bomb, they will wait for your shift, or they wait for the Pharah's shift, and they will Diva bomb you. Very, very common play. Same thing if they're playing a Moira Goats variation and they have Beam. As soon as your Pharah shifts and you shift after her, most teams will use that opening to beam you, and the Diva will fly at you and try to kill you. And you know, same thing with the Diva. So you guys have to think about that as well with your positioning and expect that.
Mm.
No.
They're on point, they're on point.
It's
Somebody's
solo
to touch,
grab.
somebody's to touch.
I'm touching.
Because now they accomplished their win condition. Again, he has his ult, so he can get away with a lot more. So he and Diva just go and 2v2 you, and your Widow obviously has to try and help you. So they're essentially 2v3ing, and then they put their 3 supports and Zarya on point, and those 3 will always beat. Those 4 will always beat and out pressure your Tracer and your Sombra and your Hammond. So
A nice hacked in the back.
I died, okay. It's fine, we have ults for next fight. Just reset.
Yeah, they used all 3 tank hits.
Yep, they use all 3 tank ults. They don't have. They should have beat actually.
They should have beaten rally. They shouldn't have you. They should.
Yep,
they should
they
have
should
every supported.
I can force beat maybe with bolts on the Lucio. I'm gonna try it.
Just farming my mines. 80.
Monkey on me.
Where's Monkey?
Lucius throwing here.
yeah, again, what did we say? What is their win condition?
Their win condition is Monkey pressures Widow, and the rest stand on point, or Diva pressures Pharah.
Yeah, they just want to play a high tempo. They don't want to stand still in a position where they can't do anything. Let your Widow set up, let your Pharah set up, let you guys set up a crossfire and just destroy. Like they will never let you do that. A good 3-3 team will never let you do that. They will always look to out tempo you, especially when they have map control. Like, they're actually pretty defensive. They should be holding here and really not giving you guys any room, diving you even deeper. Like, that's what a good team would be doing. But you guys obviously have to understand that. Like, so how do you counter with your composition? Obviously, it's going to be difficult, but how do you counteract that? How do you make sure that they don't get to play towards their win condition?
So how we make them not play? I would say we make it really hard for them to dive, or like really hard for them to take space and punish like maybe the tanks as they're diving,
Yeah, exactly.
or when the tanks are taking space.
Exactly. So again, your guys are sort of working in the 3-3 groups. We established you or the Widow will be the dive targets. So when you're retaking control, if they want to dive your Widow, you want to be ready for that. You want to already anticipate that. And when they dive, you want to kite, make sure that your Widow doesn't die, save her grapple, you're ready to pocket, and your flankers and your Hammond can pressure the point. Then maybe someone has to fall back, and you 3 push away the tanks. You force the Winston to do a defensive jump. Boom. You've cleared the space. Your Widow is set up. You can slowly move up your line of attack, and you can box them in on the point. Ideally, that's what you want to do, but that's you have to diffuse that threat first. because this map is still relatively small. So you never ever want to lose your Widow to a solo Winston, especially if he's not primaling. But again, you guys are not really talking with each other. Like neither of your groups are. You know, like your plan going into this fight is your Tracer is gonna go for a pulse bomb on the Lucio, but he's not really talking with the Hammond. He's not really talking with the Sombra as much, and the three of you aren't talking at all. You know, you guys aren't anticipating the threat. You guys aren't saying, watch out for the Winston jump, you know, save your grapple, make sure I have LOS in you, things like that, right? And you've already, like, they already screwed you doing that in the first fight, but you guys still are not adapting, presumably because you don't really understand how these compositions play against each other. But yeah, very, very important. When you see this, alarm clocks should go off.
80.
Okay.
Monkey on me.
Where's Monkey?
Lucy's throwing here.
I'm gonna hack this area.
I'm resting.
Zarya
Monkey
is
one, monkey
personal.
one, monkey one.
Okay, Monkey's happy. He forced out your res. He drew aggro from 4 of you, essentially.
Yeah, and
And
they got it for free.
Yeah, and your Tracer is calling. They got it for free. Winston get out, and as you heard, like your Tracer, I think, was calling Lucio's feeding. So there was an opening to potentially kill a Lucio, but you guys had, because you guys weren't set up properly before the fight, your Hammond had to help you, and you didn't commit to that opening. You didn't catch that Lucio, and that was your window. But now that window is lost because the like Winston out pressured the entirety of your team.
Monkey down, moving
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, actually, you did get the monkey, but yeah.
in. Going on.
Oh, we did.
I don't know.
Mine
Zarya half.
I've got barrage.
Diva hacked on point. Diva. Ana in the back. Can we go for Ana now?
So that was one of those windows, right, where you
I've got
didn't do anything for a second, and now you can see now it's impossible to catch up, right? Everyone is
Yeah.
1 HP, impossible to catch up. So you have to still think about how, like, if you're playing 3 DPS, 2 supports, and a Pharah, and 3 DPS Hammond with another support, say an Ana, it's a little different. Then you can potentially shift. You can play behind this wall with your Pharah because you can rely on your Ana to heal some of the other people.
Mine
Zarya half.
But in this situation, I think it's very important that you maintain, like, if you go behind there, you lose sightlines on almost the entire of your team. So I think in this situation, it could potentially be fine to just walk up here potentially, keep your beam your Pharah, but maintain LOS on everyone. You still have that as an escape. You can still escape to the Widow, and you can potentially heal the people on the point because you've already killed the Winston, so you have pressure on the point.
I've got barrage.
But when you shift,
Diva hacked on point.
now you lose LOS on the entirety of your team except for the Pharah. Right.
Hmm. And Geo was also repositioning, so we missed a lot of value.
Yeah,
I've got barrage.
Animal nade, Anna dead.
Ana one.
yeah. And now it's impossible to catch up.
Kill the baby, kill the baby, kill the baby.
Everyone is super low.
It's impossible, right?
Yeah.
You can see it's like, holy shit, what do I do?
Back, need help.
This is when I start panicking.
Yeah.
Oh my god, ammo pack.
And you should panic, but again, you panic because it's an impossible situation. Like, no one can salvage that situation. The key is to sort of avoid getting in there in that situation in the first place.
I think Ana once.
Replay here.
You need to scout. Smile.
Spawn, stay spawn.
Stay spawn.
Go DPS.
Okay, deep.
Okay, so you guys go DPS here again.
They're left side. I don't see them right side. Ana is main. Ana is main. Can we go for it on the statue? Please? Here.
Nice.
Nice little damage boost.
I wanna hack the Ana main.
Yeah. Now you're playing with your group. Like, these are your friends.
I got distracted.
I got
Yeah.
I got one.
I see Diana, she's one.
Ana is there.
Gavin.
So is left. Need help, I'm dead.
Ball hack. Oh, ball is
Can
half.
rest it, can rest it.
Oh, gee, shouldn't bother, bro. Okay.
You guys popped off.
Nice.
Taking position on the left.
Again, take this time. Look around. Where's my? You make the shift. Where's my Widow? Right. Especially since they're playing a DPS comp, so they can also send a Hammond. They can also send flankers. Maybe a Sombra is behind, and she can 1v1 your Widow, right? So pay attention to where your Widow is, because you're not looking You're not
He's
looking
going
at all
left side.
where she is. And you saw how that got you in trouble last time.
Where's their ball right now? I can hack their ball left side on me. You see him? You see him?
Yeah.
Oh, that right
He's
side.
hacked. He's hacked. He's hacked. Right side. Sorry. Yeah.
And again, you have to consider the fact that they're playing a DPS comp, so
You see
you
him?
have to be a lot more careful with your shifts. Same thing like we said, you were overshifting on the roof, in the previous, like in downtown.
See him?
Same thing here, like they have snipers, so you have to use cover, right?
Yeah.
Because now,
Oh, that,
like you're gonna reach her. Like your Pharah can't really go any higher. The skybox on this map is pretty low.
that right
He's
side.
hacked. He's
So
hacked,
there's
he's
no
hacked.
need to go for a shift like this where you go over her head, because now you're completely exposed from this angle from snipers. Maybe a Sombra decloaks here, pokes you a little bit, and then Ash hits you, and then you're dead. If it's just the Sombra, then you're fine. So you have to make sure that you don't overexpose yourself.
Hacked, hacked.
Be very, very
Right side,
careful with
sorry,
your
yeah.
shift. Like do shorter shifts and cut them more often.
Sunrise close.
Like now Sombra was here, but if she was there, they team up and you can potentially die.
My bad.
Is that a Widow main? No, that's an Ash main. Ash main.
This is better. Like now you're sort of using this cover. Now she actually has to like play this angle to get you. So this positioning is a little better. Like you're not going as high.
I can hack the one of them.
Yeah. Again, using cover, very
They're
good.
low, they're low.
Short shift, I like this. Right?
I can-
You
I
see
can
the
hack
difference?
Anna,
Yeah.
Anna.
Nice kill. We got to. That's enough. That's enough. We don't need to kill all.
Nice.
Like we don't need to risk.
Yeah,
it.
the funny thing is I have the preferred beam target, so I can look around while I'm shifting, but I don't do it.
Yeah. Like I actually play without it because I sort of just got used to to that, but I do it a lot more. Like as soon as I shift, I cut it, and then I'm looking around all the time because you have to have so much awareness with Mercy.
They're low, they're low.
You have to anticipate
Yeah.
threats, because if you mess up one shift, you're dead, especially against good teams.
Anna, Anna, Anna.
Nice kill. We got to. That's enough. That's enough. We don't need to kill all.
Nice.
Like we don't need to risk.
I'm gonna die most likely.
Really don't like this. Like he already kind of fucked up. So you have to again value your life way more than anyone else's.
We don't
You're
need to
way
kill
more
all.
important than a tracer. Even if your tracer dies here, it's fine. You guys can fall back, and you already have staggers. Your tracer will be back pretty fast. But if you shift in here and you die, you lose the point most likely. Right? So even though you get away with this,
Risk.
risky. You know.
I'm gonna die most likely. Actually,
Like now, your Widow kills this guy, but who knows? You know, what if they have a Widow here and they just headshot you? Or if the Sombra didn't die and she because you're shifting before the Sombra dies. So what if Sombra like hacks you and then they kill you?
Pots, you saved me.
That's a McCree. That's a McCree.
Again, you're crossing side. Maybe you catch a rocket and a Widow shot, right? Just because you went for that tracer. So yeah, don't try to make up for other people's mistakes.
You can use.
You can if you know you can
Okay,
really.
okay.
If you're 100% certain you can get away with
They're
it.
playing McCree.
Again, good use of cover here.
When the
I like
EMP,
this.
when they come through,
Hey,
okay guys? Get ready
I
for
go
EMP.
for a stick on the
Wait.
McCree.
I'm ready.
3,
I'm ready.
2.
Now you're taking care of both of them pretty well, but that's because she's playing in front of you. So when they're playing in front of you, you seem to have a good grasp of the situation, but you're not in this habit of like what's going on behind me.
1.
Paras,
And
stand
then
for
sleep.
me, help.
Mercy. Mercy one. Mercy literally one. Mercy down. Down.
Balls on left side somewhere.
Man, I spawn and spawn. Oh fuck.
Down.
And again-
Mercy. Mercy one.
So here, just cut the shift here, right? Like you don't have to like unless your Pharah's going over there. And if she is, you shouldn't go with her, right? Because then you're losing LOS on your Widow. Maybe your Widow gets pushed and she dies, right? So you just want to stay in this area. Good cover. You can take care of her and the Widow. So it's completely fine to just cut your shift here, right? Like you don't have to go higher.
Mercy literally one. Mercy down.
But you go a little too far to that side.
Balls on left side. Balls on left side somewhere.
Man,
Who knows? Like maybe if you cut your shift, maybe you heal this guy in time, right? If you just kept this, you look at her, you see if she needs damage boost, and you see that this guy's coming through the wall, you react to the fact that he needs healing faster, and then you would sort of take the angle to heal him a little faster, potentially, if you just cut your shift, if you don't overshift towards your Pharah. Because there's so you see there's so many situations when you go in front of your Pharah, and that's fine if you really need a lot of airspace, but in this situation, that's not what you need. Like, you guys are just taking angles. You want to take cover, make sure that you don't overexpose yourself, and that you take care of all of them. So, yeah. And this is like keeping this position is sort of a little more flexible, I think. And now he kind of dies. And because he dies, you have to res him. While you're resing him, he's not getting heals and he dies, right? But if you just healed him in time and saved him, maybe the situation doesn't happen. So, yeah.
No, full HP, get out. McCree's full HP, and he's pocketed by Anna. Not worth.
And again, you've still not looked behind you. Like, what's going on behind me?
No, full HP, get out. McCree's full HP, and he's pocketed
Where's
by
my
Anna.
pivot? Where's my pivot?
Not worth.
Anna still half.
You have no idea where your Pharah is now. Like, you haven't seen your Pharah in five seconds or something, right? What if this tracer pushes you? You have no idea where to go.
Yeah, I think I popped ult here because I thought she was going for pulse here.
Yeah, exactly. And you've put yourself in a situation again. You crumble under pressure and you waste this. This would be so valuable after they come back to point, because then you can relieve pressure. Your team can group around the point. You can heal them all. And the only reason you get in this situation where you have to waste this early, one tracer, you lose it to a blink, is because you have no idea that your Pharah is right there. You know?
Yeah.
And it's not like there's anything else that is a higher priority. Again, you are the highest priority, surviving and keeping your Widow alive, keeping your Pharah alive.
Full HP, get out. McCree's full HP, and he's...
These guys, like we said, low in your priority list. This guy, you will never, even if he gets low and he goes here, you will never shift after him. You can never save him, right?
Pocketed by Anna.
This guy is already full. So why are you even looking at this guy? Like, there's absolutely no need. Right? And you just stand around. And yeah.
Back off a bit.
Now you see the Pharah. But you always have to keep track of where those two guys are, because they're your pivots. What else is good, like a good call to get into the habit of doing when you're valking?
Calling that you're doing it, or calling I can contest point.
And what else?
How long it's left, or who I'm healing, or stay close together. What else?
I mean that's the big thing that I was looking for, especially when you're solo healing, when you're brawling on the point. Very important that you call, stay on Hammond or something like that, right? Then you don't have to, especially with a composition like this where there's a lot of 200 HP targets. Like you saw, when everyone gets kind of low, it's very difficult for you to keep all of them up. And when you're using Valk, that's the perfect time where all of them can get topped up, or all of them can get damage boosted, and that's an insane amount of burst that you can put out. But that's again up to you to create that scenario. Group on Hammer, group on point for heals or something like that. Obviously, anytime they're low, they're gonna come. You call heals on point, everyone's gonna come to point. So we're coming back to these mid-fight calls that you really need to start making.
I can't touch.
Mercy, winnable?
But almost the entirety of the time, you're just solo healing during your Valk duration.
Dead. Mine's on point.
Person coming from me on your
Well,
right
I can point.
Sunrise one.
Good mid-fight call there. You're calling out for the Widow, where the trace is
Somebody's
going.
getting pocketed.
Volleys one on point, he's hacked.
Me
Can
behind.
I peek?
Let me see.
Dead. Mine's on point.
So what could you be calling now in terms of, again, we're coming back to micromanaging your teammates?
First of all, leaving Pharah. And then, like, I'm coming to you with the tracers coming to you, right?
Yeah, that you already called. But yeah, like, I'm leaving you, Pharah. What else could you say to make life easier for yourself?
I don't know. Maybe like I resting too.
Are you happy making this shift? or are you scared making this shift towards your Pharaoh?
Scared.
Well, I can.
Right, and that's why you don't shift immediately, right?
I'm dead. Mine's on point.
You see this and you're like, I don't know about this. Like if I shift, there's a lot of, I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on that side. I have very limited information. I know that these flankers are all around the point. So if I shift here, there's a very high chance that I die, which is why you look at this and you're like, I don't know. And you just kind of want to stay here.
Well, I can point.
But then you
Yeah.
see that he's getting critical and then you're like, well, I have to save him.
Sombra's one.
Sombra's getting pocketed.
Sombra.
Ball is 1 on point. Ball is 1 on point. He's hacked.
Help me.
And now you're in a shitty position, right?
Can I
Like
MP?
now you don't have a pivot
Yeah, you can.
and your Widow saves you. Right? So
Yeah.
what can you do to avoid getting into this position in terms of
Tell
micromanaging your
Farah.
teammates?
Tell Farah to back up.
Yeah, so how can you sort of not only for Farah but the entirety of the team? What is like an easy call that you could make to accomplish that? Because where do you like if you choose to make life easy for you? Where do you want your Farah?
Probably. Like, wait, can I draw here?
Yeah.
Like up here, so she's covered by like this
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best position for you. Like that's where you want her. So as soon as you make this shift towards your Widow, because you know that this is good sidelines for a Widow. I want to be able to protect my Widow. So you can just say, everyone play our side, right? Immediately this guy's gonna come back here. This guy's gonna go here, because if you say play our side, like that's the only position he can go to. And then everything's much easier for you. You can take care of everyone. You're much safer, and life is easier. Because this guy's just done like the only thing. This guy, whoever is playing the Pharaoh, he's going to be very simple-minded. All he's going to think about is how do I do the most damage. That's all he's going to think about. So it's up to you to make sure that you kind of keep him on a leash, and the rest of your team on a leash, and make life easier for you. So play our side.
Well, I can point.
Because it's clear,
Okay.
because it's clear that you understand which positions are bad for you, and it's up to your teammates to reposition, to make so that you avoid taking these unnecessary risks. Because this is like you should die here, and there's a very low chance that you save him as well. Because when he's in this position, he doesn't know that you can't heal him. He doesn't know what your situation is. He's just thinking, "Oh, rockets! I need to shoot people." So yeah, it's up to you to kind of
Pocketed.
Ball is 1 on point. Ball is 1 on
tell
point.
him.
He's hacked.
Help me
Can
behind.
I MP? Can I? Oh.
It's important that he understands in that moment that there's more. It's more important that you're playing the correct position rather than playing a position where you're going to do the most damage right now,
You can.
for the context of the entirety of the fight.
Winnable.
They flipped it.
I can EMP in 3,
Banana Hammond. Those.
1.
You didn't get the ball with it.
Oh, the Hammond. The
Ball is hacked, ball is hacked.
Ball slow.
Again, you could just now in this situation, because you guys have a little more control, you don't have to really order them to play on your side. You can give them a lot more freedom. But what call could you make to give them a little more information?
And now,
Yeah, or like here.
You didn't get the ball with it.
play closer to point, or
Yeah, or just
play with those sightlines, maybe.
yeah. That's a good call to make potentially. Yeah. What else?
I was thinking, like, since we have 99, so after we win this fight, like, push up so they don't get to
Yeah,
recontest.
but the fight isn't over. Like, well, what just to make it easier for everyone? What information could you potentially give here? Because like now you're a little bit low. You're going to be stuck in this position for a little bit.
Okay. Like, I can't play my sightlines, or like.
Or worst case, like the minimum you could do is like heals on our side, right?
Okay.
Give me one moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and then people would know, he heals on our side, so automatically your Pharaoh would be a little more defensive, and these guys could make the determination: do I want to push for a kill? And if I get low, I know where to fall back to heal up, right?
Oh, the
And then you don't have to take risky shifts.
Ball slow.
Or maybe like say this guy didn't have a great awareness, and he went down to low HP, and he might not know that you're shifting to save him. Maybe he's thinking that you're with the Pharaoh, and then he might translocate out, and then he's out of the fight, right? Like, you don't know what he's really thinking. But by giving that information, heals on our side. If he has that information and he gets low, he will know that he will get help over here, right? Because he is playing our side. So you can see how you can make the game easier both for yourself and the rest of your team.
Mercy down.
Please help me.
I'm coming.
Thank you.
This Tracer, no recall.
Okay.
If you know which bridge I'm talking about, like above the point. Basically, they will be playing goats. I will hack. I will be playing on their left side.
Okay. So now, not much really changed, right? Like, now you're playing two supports, but the concept is sort of the similar, right? Like, these guys play together, and then you three play together, right?
Yeah.
Side and Tracer, if they play goats, you play more around their right side. Like,
You're right.
okay.
How are
Yeah,
you?
that will be about it. So we speed left. We speed on the right side.
Yeah, I'm big.
So what is your job in this composition?
Now, like peel for Anna and speed her around so she can get where she wants,
Yeah. Basically,
as
just
well as
yeah, you're basically just a taxi and the protection for the Widow and the Ana.
Go on,
Yeah.
Mercy. Don't see
Patsi,
them.
we watched what for this map? You're
Left, left,
looks
they're,
like goats.
they're going all the opposite side.
Then
May goats,
May
May
goats.
goats.
Main.
Oh, I'm not getting in there. I can't.
I can hack when they go to points. Like
dropping,
when
they're
they
dropping
do
below.
rotation, I look for a hack.
They're dropping below, inside the inside mega.
May's purple. They're waiting for
Go,
point to
let's get it
unlock. Use pick.
Well, wait for them to go out.
I
Wait
can-
for them to go
I'll
out.
let you-
Maze hack,
Maze
maze
go
hack,
out.
maze hack, maze one,
Down.
maze one.
Okay.
Maze
May
still
down,
one.
may
Easy
down,
fine.
may
I'm alright.
Right. Down.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Widowmaker.
Huge pot, holy fuck.
yeah.
We cap. Keep an eye on that comp. Keep an eye. They might switch.
What's the plan now?
I'm gonna
They're
hack the
bad,
mega
they're
top.
playing DPS.
I'll scout underneath. I'll stay here and boot them if they come through here, okay?
They're going down.
Ooh.
Yeah, this was Reddit play.
Ooh. So, what is the biggest mistake that you make?
Here.
Yeah.
Like not calling out for others to scout for me, or like, or do you mean like they can see me through here?
So how can you acquire information in Overwatch?
Look around
Yeah, that's one way.
or ask others.
Yeah, that's another way. But what other way can you gain information in?
Pressing tab.
Boom. There we go.
Mega top.
Right, so let's take a look at this. Fight ends.
What's the plan now?
I'm gonna hack the mega top.
I'll scout.
Right.
What's the plan now?
Keep an eye on that comp. Keep an eye. They might
Keep an eye on their comp. They might switch when your teammates calls.
switch.
What's the plan now?
I'm gonna hack the mega top.
And you don't press tab a single time. In this situation, if I'm you, I'm holding down the tab. Right? Because then you can determine how to play.
I'll scout underneath. I'll stay here and boot them if they come through here, okay?
They're going down.
So first of all, even if they would stay on Maygoats, which is very unlikely, it's very, very unlikely they will stay on that composition on the retake when they lost the first fight. If they would, it's extremely unlikely they would take this pathing. Like, this is probably, at this point of the game, this is the least likely pathing. So you don't press tab to check the comp, and you choose to position yourself in a way where you're on the opposite side of the map of your Widow and your Ana, which are the people you have to protect, like we already established. Yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I mean, I think you understand why this is
Yes.
kind of a
I will try
bot
and
play.
scout them. I will try and scout them. I'm just
Like, even at this point, you would have potentially have seen that they have a Winston, and you would just fall back.
Are they going?
Pots, you can use.
We're listening.
Another thing you would have, another piece of information you would have gained if you press tab is that your Widow has wall hacks or is very close to it, which is a very safe way to scout or gain information, right? Like that.
Mhm.
That means you don't have to put your body and scout an entrance because it's a free way to see everyone through the walls. So again, not pressing tab, you're just playing with 5% of the information you should have. And again, it's impossible for you to make a good decision if you don't acquire that information.
Minus.
And again, these guys you should already have escorted them this way. And then those guys should be sandwiching them going for the back line. And easy, this fight should be an easy win. Right?
Oh,
You're on the
Yeah.
dice.
Ture never
So,
leave me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, he even calls it out. That was a
Yeah.
bad
I'm
play.
getting out.
And now I just die on point. Or never mind, I tried to survive
We
by
should
going
go,
after
You
2.
can say this.
We should actually go
Ah.
quad DPS against Ivy.
No. Say this.
Okay, sure.
Do we take the top left?
This is pretty hard countered by dive, not gonna lie.
It's true.
It's really hard countered by dive. We should go quad DPS.
I mean, if you want to counter them, we should play goats.
Yeah.
Go goats.
Okay.
Oh my god, takes so much.
Go samurai goats.
Okay, let's move. Break, come with us.
Nice fine
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
coming.
Okay, as you can say.
Say something right. Anna's on the
So
you
bridge.
guys go
Anna's on-
goats?
Anna's on bridge.
Someone on transocane?
Bubbling here now?
Nice.
To get shot. Fine.
Help Zaya! Monkey's
Try
discarded.
from Tracer 1.
We're splitting up.
Mr. One,
So you called we're splitting up, right? But if you just close your eyes and listen to the comms, do you think anyone hears that? Like you just close your eyes and listen to the comms right now.
Anna's on bridge.
Someone on transocane?
Bubbling here now?
Nice.
To get shot. Fine.
Help Zaya! Monkey's
Try
discarded.
from Tracer 1.
We're splitting
Mr.
up.
One, Tracer One.
Yeah.
You know, it's a whisper. It's obviously very important that you guys are splitting up. It's you shouldn't split up against this composition with goats, but you're whispering it, right? So you give the important information, but you're not assertive at all mid-fight. You don't shift your tone, which is again extremely important that you do. Otherwise, you might as well not call anything. Beyond that, if you see your team splitting up? What is a better call to make? Like, what should you be? Because again, you see the whole battle from the back line. Again, you're the only one who sort of noticed that you guys are splitting up. So, what kind of call could you make to rectify that?
Stay together.
Not how can you be even more specific?
Just tell a spot like everyone come to me, or just tell everyone where they should go.
Because again, we're split. Okay, so what are we going to do about it? That's just kind of an information call. If you say group up, well, again, up to interpretation. Who are we grouping up on? Are we grouping up with Zen on one side of the map? Or are we grouping up with the Reinhardt? Are we grouping up around the Lucio? Or are we grouping up on point? Where are we grouping, right? You have to have a person or a location where you're going to group up. So you see that immediately. The fastest way to fix that is to give a specific order and do it louder than everyone else in comms. We're split. Everyone group up on Ryan, and you have to, or like stay with Ryan. Like it has that has to be natural to you as a main support. You know, because if you trial for contenders teams, you will never make it to contenders if you don't learn how to do that and how to lead in that type of a way. Because again, I ask you the questions. You know the answers. It's just about doing them in game.
Nice.
Get a D.Va left side, get a D.Va left side.
Jump to one,
Purple,
Again, you don't know where to go. Like you're looking around. You just did a 360. You communicated that everyone's split, but like no one's doing anything about it.
Lucia down.
Nice.
Get a D.Va left side, get a D.Va.
Someone's calling, get the D.Va left side. No, you guys, you know that you can't get the D.Va left side. You have to protect this guy. This guy's there. This guy's there. That guy's pushing there. Like you're playing to their win condition by splitting. You're right. Ryan drops on the point on his own. You know, like it's just chaos.
Yeah.
Purple, I need peel. I need
Can we
peel.
go points?
Where are you?
Go to point, play your
Monkey's one.
Bubble.
Now, at the latest, everyone group on point, right? Like you already have 2 kills. What is the strength of 3-3? You know, you can pressure the objective and they can't stay with you because you outbrawl them. Now you can give the order. Everyone group on point. Because you have the information. You saw that your D.Va dropped. You saw that your Reinhardt dropped. and you see that the 4 of you are here. So are you gonna, like, you're pressuring the objective, but now you can potentially end up in a situation, even though you're 6 versus 4, you could virtually end up in a 4 versus 4 here and a 2 versus 0 there, and that potentially gives them a way into the fight, right?
Like,
Yeah.
Samra, get a Samra.
Number one.
Now you see is again, like, you see this guy's over here,
Number one.
Go to
no,
back.
and you push Anna alone without saying anything. So not only are you not telling your team where to go so that you guys don't split up, even though you've identified 10 seconds ago that you shouldn't split up, you're also going for a solo play. If you want to go for this play, again, everyone push Anna on point, right? Order. And then everyone would listen. Like, this guy would turn around, your Reinhardt behind you would go, your Zen would turn around and shoot, and you guys secure the fight properly. You systematically, you avoid any throw scenarios, because the way this fight played out, even though you guys got the kill, if these are the habits you guys maintain, you will throw so many fights against better teams.
He's on point. He's on point.
Okay.
Right? Like, there's a scenario where a better Ana kills you here, and if she kills you here, what if someone else kills your Zarya who's on her own there? What if your Diva, who is 1v1ing someone else there, loses her mech, right? What if they have an ult to bring it back? What if, say, like Sombra and Tracer are there and they have EMP and they kill 2 people there? But none of those scenarios are even
Nice, but
remotely plausible if you just make the simple call, everyone group on point.
Who's he staggering himself? He's
Okay.
primal.
Kill himself.
Ooh.
You right side.
Yeah, I'm pushing.
Bubbling you, Diva.
Yeah, they're falling back.
Oh,
They're
I'm
scared
staying.
of me, dude.
They're switching to goats.
They have
High
Sombra
bubbles.
still. I'm
High
gonna
on
TMP
top.
it there for him.
Alpha bomb.
They should have really
don't
close to MP or EMP. We hide Lucio, don't forget.
I'm putting pressure.
I'm side.
I don't-
We hide Lucio. EMP it there.
They're switching to goats.
They have
High
Sombra still.
bubbles.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
High on
TMP
top.
it there for him.
Alpha bomb.
They should have really
don't
close to MP or EMP.
You know, like, your teammate already gave you information.
We
But
hide
I
Lucio,
don't know what. The
Wait, now you're roboting.
information, but I don't.
You were a robot there for a moment, yeah? Go on.
Yes, I have the information, but I don't adapt to it.
Yeah. He gives you the information, at which point you should just say, oh, okay, sorry, yeah, I gotta hide. Then he even tells you what to do, but, like, you're so zoned out and not focused, right? Because, like, for this play, there's no excuse, right? Like, you got the information, you got the order, but, like, you're just not focused, right? Like, that's the only explanation for
Yeah.
this, right? Because there's nothing else you are doing. It's not like you are calling the plan. It's not like you are doing the shot calling in this fight. You're just kind of zoned out after the fight. And again, you know, it's at the highest level, at the contenders level, you can't do that. Like, if you do that, then that's a tendency you build. Maybe that's what's going to happen on the official, right? Or you won't even make it to a team if that's the kind of tendency that you have. You have to be extremely focused, and it's very tiring. Like, being a pro is very, very tiring. After every 2-hour block, you should be completely exhausted because you're always thinking. And now my dog entered.
Forget.
I'm
But
putting
yeah.
pressure.
Because that's how you win this fight. You know, you gotta, and you would have had plenty of time to save your teammates.
Okay, I'm gonna die on points.
I'm gonna try to farm my ult.
That's a beat and a EMP.
I'll go ready. We can re-engage.
We go top left. Like, yeah, we can engage with rally definitely. Like, the moment we get antied, you instantly rally as well.
Alright.
But try to. Okay, they're swapping. Go fast. Go on there, Ryan. They don't leave Diva right now. They're swapping. Go fast. Go on there, Ryan.
Why do you speed boost here?
To get back, I think I even. Yeah, this is like because we want to go for the choke with speed.
Mm-hmm.
That is also something I do. I speed when instead of calling out, wait for me. So, like, I don't know, calling doesn't feel supernatural. So then I try to make up for it with, like,
Alright.
But,
adapting instead of
try
shot
to-
calling or making
Okay, there's
plans.
Mm-hmm. But in a situation like this, why is it a bad idea to speed boost when you speed boost?
Because then we have to wait probably 10 more seconds and they're swapping, so we should speed boost to, like, point the whole team
Mm-hmm.
and take, like, point pressure while they're not there. Instead, we don't get the speed boost we need, and they basically get to swap for free.
So what could potentially be when could this speed boost potentially be a good idea?
Speed when there's a 5 on my screen and we're going through a choke.
Or even like maybe 1 or 2 people are here, maybe someone from their team fed and you guys want to take a fight super fast. You know that your speed boost won't necessarily be like, say you kill a person here, right? And you spawn with 2 other people. So that's a window where if you guys get to the point fast enough, because they won't really want to take the fight 5 versus 6. So they're going to give space up to you guys. And it's very important for you guys to force the fight 6 versus 5 on point as soon as possible, right? So in that situation, that would probably be a good idea because you won't necessarily need your speed boost to engage on anyone. And you're boosting 2 other people. So you're boosting your teammates to make sure that you regroup faster. So you're boosting someone else other than yourself.
Go fast, go fast, go.
But in this situation, especially when you're spawning alone, like this sort of time that you save by speed boosting is negligible. Like if your mechanics are good, you get there pretty much as fast, especially with the updated Lucio movement, you get there almost as fast as if you wouldn't speed boost.
Okay.
You know, like this, you get here, now you get here maybe 0.1 seconds faster or something, or 0.2 seconds faster than you would have if you haven't speed boosted. And you could have speed boosted now.
I can bubble.
And then you can potentially catch this guy, right? Because they're not regrouped yet. Because you're the fastest character. You can catch up to the fight fast, and then you want to have the boost ready for the fight. So you have to think about situations like that. Am I boosting someone else to get back into the fight faster? That in that case, it's fine in the middle of the round to boost out of the spawn. And if I'm just kind of... it depends. Like also depends on the distance between you and your objective. So say if the fight is taking place, say you're on Paris attack first point. If the fight is taking place on the point, you just died. That might be like an okay time to speed boost out of spawn if you're spawning alone, because the distance between you and point A is sort of around 10 to 12 seconds, right? So that's potentially a situation where it's okay. But in a situation like this, where the distance between you and the rest of the team and the objective is like just a couple of seconds because it's a relatively small map, it's not really worth it. So yeah, just use your mechanics to get back to the fight, and then make sure you have your boost ready, because
3, 2, 1.
this is an opening you guys miss. You know, like if they say 3, 2, 1, you guys go in for a bubble trade, and if your Reinhardt has speed boost, like maybe he can swing on like 2 or 3 people, and you guys can win this trade.
Yeah, try to look for grab.
Can we throw bomb one?
Or they can kite faster.
I'm sleeping.
Look
I'm
for grab,
home.
please. Look for grab, please.
Ryan's nano.
Again, you know, this is kind of a mid-fight situation, and you're completely quiet. So if we read the situation,
Can we throw bomb one?
what is the right play for your team right now, considering what you see on the screen?
Now get to Ryan.
Exactly. Like you guys, as soon as your Ryan gets slept and he gets booped down, there's no way you can keep this pace. So the best bet for you guys is to just give up high ground. With him getting booped down, you already lost the high ground battle. You need to make sure you group up. Otherwise, you guys are just gonna get rolled up top. So you see that? Everyone dropped a point. You know, like immediately, if I'm the Lucio, I'm making that call. And you have to as well. Because this guy's just still swinging. Like obviously he didn't see, I guess, that the Reinhardt dropped, or he doesn't have the awareness, and he keeps fighting essentially. Like these guys are making the read. Oh, we have to fall back. Like we can't really hold this. Ryan's obviously on point, and this guy keeps fighting.
Look for grab.
And then you get put in a position. So now, because he's made that mistake, you either beat to save him, or you take the loss, or you try to regroup on the point and you beat on the cross, or you beat on the point, right? Because now you kind of like, okay, he kills himself because he doesn't have great awareness, but it's up to you to be able to micromanage a little bit as well and give him that information. Because you don't want to be put, like you could potentially have gotten a situation here where you try to beat to save him and you just waste your beat and he dies anyway, right? Because he's not aware of the tempo. Like the tempo should be slow. You guys should be falling back.
Grab, please. Grab, please.
Ryan's nano.
and then you're overextended, right? Because you're standing in a position like this. You see that he's overextended, so you want to help him, right? Like, this is the only way you are still standing here, because, like I said, you understand what the right play is. You see that you won't be able to hold this, right? So I assume in this situation you stay in this position just because you see that your brig is overextended, right?
Yeah, trying to speed them to Rhine maybe, but don't call it. Or...
Yeah.
Please.
So also your positioning is compromised because you don't tell the rest of the team what to do with the information that you have. We're coming back to the same situation with the Mercy, right? Like, play on our side. You see the right play, but you don't say it, and then you put yourself in a position where you're under pressure. And we come back to the issue that you wanted help with, right? And now you're under pressure and you get shattered.
Nice boot.
And now you get up, and now again, like, what do? Do you beat here to try and save the fight? You probably can't. Like, what should you call in this situation? When all
fall
of this,
back.
yeah, just reset, right? Like, you still have time for a retake, but you know, like, you've lost this, you lost mech. This is a really bad situation. You don't want to commit your beat, so make sure everyone, like, these guys jump off the map and you reset as fast as possible.
Help Orion, help Orion. He's alone on point.
Someone is calling help Orion, help Orion. Like, what's that gonna accomplish? Like, the fight is completely lost.
Help Orion.
I'm on Ryan.
And you should be like, no, just jump off the map, reset. Instead, you go and help him. The rest of the team keeps fighting.
Leave. Out.
Now people call out, but you understood that the fight was over, 7% ago, from the information you had, from what was going on.
Ture, you have warp on you.
And now you've put yourself in a situation where you don't have a 6v6 anymore.
Sorry, I thought you had.
Someone has
Someone's
to
gonna
touch.
have to touch.
I can try to touch. I can go underneath and touch. Or
Yeah,
Side
do
it,
it.
side it,
We
side
gotta use quick.
okay.
Fuck this here. Yikes.
Underneath and touch.
I forgot how the map looked.
That's what I was gonna say.
We gotta use quick.
Oops, there's
There's
no
one
exit
more.
here.
Yeah. No, like, there's the next right to get down, not that right, and then
Yeah.
like,
Point, somebody?
I'm going point.
You want this one back, right?
yes.
Yeah, because
This
now,
is where like
yeah.
everything falls down.
Yeah. So it starts with you not knowing the map. Because you don't know the map, you're like, oh crap, I promised my team that I would touch, but I realize now that I cannot touch. And the only thing you're looking at is this and this. You're like, holy crap, 5%, I have to touch in 5%. You're not paying attention to that, the fact that your team is actually steamrolling, right? And someone else is gonna be able to touch.
I got one.
Like, you're completely oblivious to this, right? Just because you didn't know the map and you put pressure on yourself. So very important. Like, keep attention to all of this stuff around what's going on in the map, and
Point,
I'm going
also
point.
because you guys touch, but you lose the game here. As soon as you waste the beat here, the game is over,
Anna's up here. Anna's up here.
She's half.
or it's significantly harder.
Hold close.
Hell close on top.
I
I
can
have
boop.
shadow.
I can boop.
Let's see. What's your ult economy looking like? Yeah, imagine if you had this, and these. Next fight is probably pretty easy.
Close.
Yeah.
On top.
I
I
can
have
boop.
shadow.
I can boop shadow.
They have nades for trance.
Boop shadow.
For
Grass
grab.
for graph, you mean?
Okay, if they go.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call it out.
Okay, so now if you think about it logically, considering the percentage, what is the most likely pathing of your opponents?
Either left or under.
Yeah, most likely. And you guys have great teamwork. 6 people are watching the same angle, right? You guys are really working as a team, but you're working with a third of the information that you should have. So how should you guys reposition to have more information and make better decisions?
Like, we could play, for example, the Diva could stand like up here in the sniper tower,
Yep.
whatever it's called, and like the support could play here.
Yep.
Ryan could probably stand here, like even further, like here maybe, and Messar is like around here, I guess.
So Considering your ults as well, what kind of plays do you have at your disposal?
Well, we have the trance for the grab.
Mm-hmm.
We have the Diva Bomb can force C9 in like best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if we get a 6-man shadow, like the Diva Bomb can like just clear the.
Yeah, so you could potentially Diva Bomb dive, but obviously not if they have grab. If they have grab, you want to keep it to screen the grab, and you want to use these two to counter. But also, if you do track the grab, then is Boop Shatter sort of a worthy play, you think? Is it something you should kind of really look for?
It depends if we catch the rotation. We could probably stun the Zarya before she gets to use it.
Yeah, I think if it presents it to yourself, if you see a really good opening, it's definitely something you could do. But you also have to consider the fact you have to be a little more careful because they have the graviton, because you don't want to be ever caught in the graviton, right? Like you want to make sure that he gets in it, and 200 HP targets. You guys try to avoid as much as possible, because they can still go in, they can cut the grab, and they can burst you, especially if there's a Discord on you.
I can boop shadow.
Yeah, and pin.
They have nades for trance.
Because it's very important to beat your opponents to the corner, so your scouting needs to be much better here, and it's really up to the diva.
They're not here.
If as soon as you say not here, beat them to this corner, right? Even if you're late, even if you're late to contest this, if they go out and they flip the map, that's still better for you because you have high grounds to control. You can push them and you can control this. So even if they go under, that's not a disaster. You need to make sure they don't get out here. So you want to beat them to this corner. You might even want to, now that you've realized that they're not here, your Ryan might even want to pin here so that you beat them to this corner. Because now you guys rotate here, right? But again, I think at least this isn't as important as that is. Right? What do you think?
Yeah, but like if they go left, we give them a free high ground. If they go under, that's basically last ditch effort. Like the fastest way, and it's like an awful way to go.
Yeah, because the thing is, like if they go like this, they flip the map. It's still a lot easier. Like your Reinhardt can drop here. You can drop to protect him potentially. Your Zarya can take an angle here. Your Diva can take an angle here. Your Zen can take an angle. Like you can just take a lot of angles, and it's much harder for them to execute with their grab as well, right? Like their Zarya comes out, and she's like, "Well, the Zarya is beaming me here. The Diva is here. I need to kind of push her before I grab, and then a lot less pressure on your Reinhardt would potentially be here." Which is why, like, if you guys are late on the rotation, you guys don't have scouting information. It's much better to shut down that side, I think.
Okay, I tried to boop right now.
Under.
Yeah, I'll boop right
Right
now.
side, right side, right side.
Okay, I can stay boop right now. I'll call it. 3, 2, 1. No.
And like, so is this sort of situation where once they've already crossed the corner, should you still be looking for the boop shatter?
Okay, I can stay boop right now. I'll call it. 3.
I mean, if the Zarya looks to the right and grabs me, then it's like I feel bad because the sun is nowhere close.
3, 2, 1. No.
Yeah, you've also already given them the corner, so they can potentially go here. They can use cover here. So the play is already happening pretty late, and you're taking a huge risk for questionable reward. Like it's gonna be hard, and like you said, if they just solo grab you and kill you, then maybe they can get one kill. That's a situation where your Zen will still have to trance, your Diva will still have to bomb, so now, and your Ryan will probably go for the shatter. So that's a scenario where you probably will blow 3 ults, and they will still kill you because your team won't be able to save you in time, right? So, but you still have map control. Their Zarya has 0 charge, your Zarya has 100 charge. So even though she's at 40%, if you just slow down, you play the ults correctly, you don't really need to take that big of a risk. You can still grind them out in this fight. So you don't have to always tunnel on the boop shatter. It's something that you can call pre-fight. I might look for it if it's available and then make a mid-fight call. But now you're so tunneled on just this play. We have to make this play work that you don't really think about anything else. Even though like this is probably not... Like you do call it mid fight pretty well. Like I can still do it, but yeah, I think It's a potentially situation where you don't have to take the risk and just let your Ryan decide what he wants to do with it.
No need, no need.
Because there's a realistic scenario where like they grab, you bomb and trance. What is the bomb gonna do? It's gonna break Reinhardt's shield, right? Enemy Reinhardt's shield. And then it might be much easier for Reinhardt in that situation to find a mid-fight shatter, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because now you end up using shatter, bomb, and trance at the same time. You're not spreading your ults out at all, so it's fine for them. Like they just traded 1 ult for 3. They just got super far ahead in the ult economy.
No need.
Ideally, obviously, like if you can find a shatter early and they use a support ult and then they grab and they trans, then it's fine. But yeah, if they do end up leading with the grab, then you guys have to be a little smarter with your
Bombing. Sunrise.
They have shatter,
because now it's just so hard to kill them, right? Like you've already used all of your ults, you're not coming up because you played so fast. You just blew all your ults at the same time. It's hard for you to extend the fight. It's hard for your Zarya to sort of leverage her energy advantage and farm up her ult, and because you used all of that, they can just rally and sustain and kind of grind you out in this fight.
Red is guarded.
Break low.
Device low.
Right, come back.
A nice low.
So how come you choose to heal boost here?
Device low.
Right, come back.
Here.
I think it was like saw critical, so then I used heal.
Sorry, what?
I saw Ryan was critical, so then like the instinct is heal.
Mm-hmm. So do you think your heal boost really... What would help your Ryan survive? Because your job isn't really to heal him. Your job is to make sure he survives, right? And there's...
Yeah.
It's a small difference, but it is a difference. So considering the situation, how does your Reinhardt survive? What kind of help does he need to survive in this type of a situation?
By not taking damage.
Mm-hmm, exactly. And right now he's in range of taking a whole lot of damage, right? Like I think maybe there's someone there as well, right? So he's already getting all the resources. You know, he's getting obviously he has the orb. He probably got the armor pack. So really, he just wants to get away, right? Like he maybe wants to go and hide there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best thing you can do for him, because whatever your like healing per second is, it's negligible considering the damage that is coming his way. And your Reinhardt is already so low, and this guy is already naded, so these guys will swing, and your Reinhardt knows he can't swing back, so he's just going to be a stationary target that they can kind of beat down. Whereas if you spend like maybe 80% of this amp on speed, maybe he gets around, maybe you're also able to get behind his shield, you boop their Reinhardt back a little bit, and then maybe you spend like the last 20% of your amp on heal, just top him up a little bit, right? Like that's sort of the most impact you can have in the fight in this situation with your amp, with your cooldown. I think it's probably that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, also a tip that I would really think about. Anytime you use amp, it's almost always gonna have more value as with speed, because repositioning, taking cover, is significantly more important than the little bit of healing that you do most of the time. And it's just like, you know, movement and mobility is paramount in Overwatch.
Come back.
A nice low.
But now, like, because you heal boosted, you still find yourself kind of out of position. You can't peel anyone because you're too slow. And again, you know, how much did you heal him?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nice, no cooldown.
And yeah, everyone just rushes him.
I'm dead.
I'm shot at.
A nice still on points.
Okay. You guys end up losing it. So, last round, a little bit sloppy. A lot of mistakes. Again, we saw, I think, if we move to Aggie, are you in the Aggie room?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what you said, biggest thing is what you struggle with is pressure when you're pressured, and we saw like just watching that round, it did feel like you were under a lot of pressure, but almost all of it is sort of something that you've forced on yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we learned is how you can avoid this is pre-fight preparation, right? So what kind of pre-fight preparation do we talk about that you need to do now all the time to make sure that you are less pressured?
Look for the Pharah and Widow on Mercy, as well as calling like ults, and not just calling information, also like understand what it means, what you're calling or what you're receiving. What else? Pressing tab.
Yes, I think one of the most important things. You should be the highest. If we would make a chart of sort of average time spent pressing tab, you should, as a main support, it should be you should lead in that department. But I'm really not sure whether I'm pretty sure you're towards the bottom of your team in that regard. And again, you see how your game would immediately improve, how you would avoid making these mistakes if you're just better prepared. Because why do we feel pressured? And not just like beyond Overwatch. Like when you go and you do an exam at school, why are you nervous when you're nervous?
Because I'm not prepared, and what's it called? I get punished for doing or like you get punished for doing mistakes, or you can do mistakes.
100% preparation. If you go into an exam and it's a subject that you're confident about, and you've studied a lot and you know all the answers already, like you're confident beyond belief, then you will not feel any pressure. You will not feel any stress. You'll be excited to go into that exam. But if you haven't prepared at all, if you you played games instead of studying for that exam, you will feel pressure. You will feel anxious. You'll feel nervous because you know you're not ready. It's the same thing in Overwatch as it is during an exam. You go into a fight, it's an exam. How well are you prepared for every scenario? Or have you thought through every scenario? Are you ready to kind of help your team and help yourself? Right? It's a little more complex, but the concept is the same, I think. Right?
Yeah.
What else did we learn? In terms of mechanical stuff, just cutting shift a little more with Mercy. With mid-fight calls, I think, yeah, that's a big one that we need to take away from this, because you see the situations, but again, like I said, calling doesn't come naturally to you, right? And for some it does, for some it doesn't. So for me, talking always came very naturally, which is why immediately when I started playing Overwatch, I got shoved into the Lucio role, even though I enjoyed playing other heroes a lot more, because I was a talker. And usually good talkers make good main supports. Not always, you don't absolutely have to, but you better be insane in every single other aspect if you want to make it into contenders and not be someone who contributes a lot in the sort of calling department. So mid-fight calling, extremely important that you work on, that you improve on. When you watch back your own VODs, I'd suggest you to really think about, do I have read in the situation? What is the mistake? Because when we went through the situations, you understood what your mistakes were. But your biggest mistakes were not communicating it. Like seeing the situation, thinking about it, but not putting it out there. Or even when you put out there, you didn't put out there as aggressively as you should, right? So yeah, just a lot of more assertiveness in terms of that. Yeah, I think those are like the biggest categories. I think if we simplified, most things that we discussed fall under these trees. Is there anything else? Any questions you have?
Well, the only question I thought about was like a super specific question, as in when Pharah is barraging, if it's more worth it to like damage boost or heal.
It's a little situational. I think usually you have to read the situation. So like if your Pharah is going into barrage and she's not full HP, you probably want to heal her up, because otherwise she's just going to die too fast. You also have to read how many people are going to be shooting her, right? And that's because ideally, if we're if we're min-maxing, right? So you want to damage boost her up until the point till she starts taking damage. Or you want to be damage boosting her if you're 100% certain that the damage she will be taking won't be fatal. It won't kill her, right? So that's your starting point. And from that, you have to determine how much damage is she going to be taking. So usually, to be safe, you're most likely, if her is full HP, you're going to be damage boosting her early on in the animation. You're going to look at the movement. As soon as people start looking at her, you will start healing because you know that a lot of burst damage is incoming, right? So yeah, that's how I would think about it. And most of the time, yeah, start with damage boost. If you immediately get like 3 kills, then maybe you can stay on the damage boost for a little longer, but you have to be ready, because again, you don't want to risk a situation where you're a little greedy and you damage boost for a little too long, you're Farah dice, and then if you're Farah dice, you have nowhere to go either, right? It's more efficient sometimes it's more efficient to get 1 kill with the barrage, help your Farah survive, let her take you up in the air, and then grind the fight out from there, than it is to kill 2 and then lose your Farah, so trading 2 for 1, and then you're in a position where you might get focused down. So yeah, that's how I would answer that.
All right.
Okay. If you don't have any more questions, then we'll finish it up right there.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we're done then. Yeah, thank you so much for this.
Thanks for watching, guys. To keep supporting this type of content and the channel, hit the magical subscribe and like buttons. Also, make sure you hop onto the Mineral Miners Discord to join the community and potentially take advantage of some coaching. You can find the link in the description box down below.